Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And also keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we have after market close on Wednesday, November 17th. We're going to take a look at SoFi. I'm still a bit under the weather, so, bear with me as I mumble and jumble and work through my brain fog. But, SoFi coming down a bit again today, and see this sort of putting in this mirroring pattern here of previous drawdowns leading up to earnings, and then kind of coming down to fill that gap that was left when it jumped up there for earnings. So always curious to see how much kind of selling pressure a gap fill induces into the flow or into the marketplace versus how much that just sort of like settles the gap and resurfaces some probable support levels. So right now that support level that I'm looking at that's tightest in is this 2132, situated just under that at the moment, and to my way of thinking and still where we are in the charts, 2058 looks to me to be the next most probable place for it to find solid support. I don't know if it's going to have to come down there and test that or not, or if it's going to be able to regain support at this 2132 and then make an attempt at flipping this 2187 or not. But we'll see. But those are the areas that I'm most paying attention to at the moment. It's lost the 12 EMA, which is unfortunate. We see previous drawdowns. This big one here prior to earnings was caught by the 34. So again, the 34 also, by the time it gets to it, if it comes down further, will likely be situated right about at the 2058 as well. Now, prior to that, looking for previous to that, it was in a bearish formation here. So this brief consolidation allowed for this run up, and it's really been a play off of the 12 and then some off of the 34 as well. So we'll be looking for that 34 as it gets close. That 180 MA sitting, a solid $3.50 below where it is at the moment. So that could add additional support if it's needed, but I'm certainly hoping that it doesn't need to come down that far to catch that MA support. On the Ichimoku cloud, I'll throw that in here to sort of have a look. So this gold conversion line and the yellow baseline, what these are, you can sort of think of it like a MACD and a signal line. So when the conversion crosses over the base, it's considered a buy signal of some sort. If the price is situated below the cloud, it's considered a weak buy signal. If it's in the cloud, it's kind of a moderate buy signal. And if the price is above the cloud, when the crossover happens, it's considered a strong buy signal. Same thing happens to the other side. So the price is situated pretty high above the clouds at the moment. So if this were to cross over in a bearish formation, that would be considered a weak sell signal. So that may just mean it wants to come down and test either some of these support levels that we have charted or even test the cloud itself. And these are meant to act as additional support. This green line here, the leading A, and the leading B, which is the red line below it. And the thickness of the cloud determines the level of support. So right now, as you see, this has support way down in like the mid 17s, so not so dissimilar from where where the MA is situated. And the support is not super strong at the moment. So it's pretty thin cloud there. You see like super thick in this region, much thicker as we get over here as well. So hopefully it can stay situated above or at least on those clouds as we get some more resilient support coming here in the several days into the future. I did want to look at the monthly 1 hour because there's been so much that's happened over the course of the last month, as you know, since we pull it up daily. It's gone up at this point with the rolling 1 month almost 12%, and so it still is a really significant uptick. Now, the thing that I would kind of watch, and I don't want to draw a bunch of stuff in here and just muddy up the charts additionally, but I do notice that there's been these like relatively consistent pattern, right? Where there's a big catalyst that runs it up, and then it consolidates, and then it makes its next move and consolidates. But I do notice that at least on the hour recently, the pattern has leaned toward bearish movements for sure. So we see here the big catalyst run up, consolidates, and then takes a big leg down. That also being then catalyst driven. So I think that we're just sort of in a position where we may need to look to the next catalyst, because this herky jerky action has been, while it has acknowledged and responded logically to different levels on the chart that we've posed as support and resistance, the large movements outside of relatively consolidation type periods have been strongly driven not by the chart, but by obvious catalysts: earnings, run up to earnings, analysts, the announcement of the offering. All of these things have been the biggest influencers. So, like, absent of any of those things, I would look for it to continue to consolidate. Now, the unfortunate thing at the moment is this couple of days of consolidation here, it's broken that to the downside. And so, and it broke through that. So I don't know if it's like the hangover from, like we said, filling the gap, or the announcement of the offering, which wasn't taken well by traders. But I don't love that through this consolidation and no additional catalyst, that it drew down pretty strongly today. So I'm mostly interested to see what it does at this 2132, to kind of decide whether or not it's forming a more like bearish outlook. On the 1 hour, which is what we're looking at the moment, it did flip to bearish a couple of days ago. So that's one thing to consider. But we'll have to see what can catch it and why. But I think at this point, looking at bank charter, looking at any sort of significant catalyst from an upgrade or increased price target from analysts or additional analysts coming in with something to the bullish side, those could be positive catalysts that come in. But I think absent of that there's probably not a lot of sheer strength in the trend resiliency on the chart itself, from what I'm seeing at the moment anyway. Now, I did get a few notes, some folks saying that's the sale that's being sort of shepherded through by SoFi that was announced, the offering, the 50 million shares. There's a lot of people in different camps. So the one camp that's very hopeful is that this is another signal that the bank charter is nearing, because they need to divest some foreign ownership, and SoftBank being in there, they need to get their holdings to under 10% or something. I can't remember. I just tried to sort of look at what people were saying, but I didn't go try to initiate any ground up research. So this is just some of the chatter that's out there, but I don't really know anything else surrounding it. But just wanted to mention it because folks have brought it up. The other thing that folks have been talking about is Chamath talking about how he, I don't know if you listen to the All In podcast, or you can also watch it on YouTube, but it's Chamath, David Sachs, David Friedberg, and Jason Calacanis, who are friends, VC and investors, and they talk about a wide range of things. But on there, of course, Chamath discusses his SPACs sometimes, and he had talked about diversifying his risk and has this whole strategy around being long, I can't remember exactly, being long Facebook and Google and shorting Amazon and Apple or something like that. But in any case, he's been talking about ways to sort of diversify and hedge himself against some of the, I guess, leverage or over leveraged positions that he has, whatever. So in any case, some folks are speculating that this is part of the fallout from that. I don't 100% see the connection, other than he had mentioned this in a broader context on the podcast, but I don't know. But I just wanted to mention those to the degree to which anyone wants to chime in and try to bolster any of those or tear any of those apart in the comments. Feel free to discuss it there. If anyone has very clear regulatory links or whatnot to why divesting would need to happen prior to bank charter approval, I'd be happy to pin that comments or what have you. Finally, we'll finish with the data and the flow. Nothing much changed on the short side today, minus 0.03%, 6.8 current short interest percentage of the free float per Ortex estimates, and nothing else really changing that much. On the flow side of things, also nothing that fits my criteria crossing the board today. So this is still from yesterday, right? Yeah. Bullish positioning here, 2250 call for this Friday, just 38K. So it might be not much of anything. But you see overall here, much of this flow being pretty bullish. There was this brief bearish period here, all on the 9th and the 10th of November, I guess, trying to get in front of earnings there. But again, this is just fitting the criteria of 30K premium, slapping the ask, and out of the money and single leg only. So if it doesn't fit that criteria, it doesn't make it on here. So it doesn't necessarily mean that there weren't any whale movements today. That said, bear premium, 55.6%. So there could be something to that there. Yeah, we'll just have to keep an eye on it as we go and sort of see what happens. But that's what I'm looking at on the chart for the time being. Definitely looking like it's turning away a bit to me. But we'll see what happens. It definitely has some settlement opportunities here. This 2132 and at 2058, potential there to kind of catch some rest. And like I said, this 34 EMA would be a big sort of signpost to me to say whether or not that catches the price action if it needs it. And certainly it's a 12 crosses below the 34 and a bearish crossover sense. I would definitely keep a strong eye on that as well. All right, folks. Well, I hope that you had a happy hump day and that you're able to finish the week off strong in the days ahead. And I appreciate you watching. I will see you in the next video.